Hello, everyone. Now that you've learned a little bit more about the purpose of group learning, I'd like to share with you a guide to getting started. And it really is about getting started and seeing what works for you and building from there. I want to share one quote from Kang 1998. It says, "The most effective small group learning puts students in situations where they must negotiate meaning and examine unfamiliar and often complex problems." So we don't want to put students in a group for just any old reason and just for something that's very simple that they may be able to think about quickly in their head. We want to give them something a little bit more uh, meaty, something that they can really discuss and work on together, almost a purpose for needing more than one person. And it gives them really that sense of belonging. There's three general groupings that you might want to consider when you're beginning with groups in the classroom. The first one is casual groups. Those are pretty simple to do. You can get them started very easily. It's casual in the sense that there's not a lot of structure from the teacher, and the students have a lot of choice. The second thing you might try is a structured and or sometimes it's called a cooperative group. And so this time the teacher is giving more information about the way that they'd like the group to interact, what they'd like the group to do exactly, and the way it may perform or what may come out of that. And so you can get more out of it sometimes. The last one is a team-based grouping, and this is something that typically takes place over a period of weeks, a month, maybe even a semester, depending on what the teacher wants to do. So this time you can get really in depth with building a group up and getting everybody to know each other and really take advantage of the strengths that the group has. A little more information about casual grouping. So these are some prompts that I've sort of probably said in some sense using a casual grouping. I might say, okay, at your table, discuss the following. So if students are sitting at a table, you can give them a prompt and quickly they're talking about it. You might say, turn to the student next to you and talk about this. And so now you're saying, just talk to one other person. Another way to do this, if you have something going on, you're like, oh wow, I really wanted to give this handout. You might use this prompt. While I'm handing this out, discuss your thoughts about whatever it is you're talking about. So the pros for that is that it's really easy to do. It requires almost no planning. And it does add some variety to the rhythm of the lesson rather than you lecturing, blah, 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 like I'm doing right now, right? It gives a little breaking up to it. It also requires the students to be active. Now, the cons are that really not all students necessarily will participate when you do this, particularly at a table, the ones that are more talkative, a little more proactive or maybe aggressive or for any reason why they like to speak, they'll go first and often leave some students out. And then the second con is it's sort of limited in sophistication due to the lack of structure. Like you don't really know what you're going to get out of something like discuss the following. It doesn't necessarily give them a task to do. So let's take a look at the second level. That would be structured and cooperative grouping. So these are some prompts you could use for that. Okay, at your table, you will have the following roles. And then you assign roles to each of the members. Like, okay, you're going to be the presenter, you're going to be the note taker, and you're going to be the reader, and everybody can have a title or a task that they're responsible for in each group. The second prompt says, discuss this in your group using two talking chips. Now, talking chips are something you might use if you have students that are taking over every conversation and there's other students that are just really not participating. You can give everybody two chips. It can be like a literal plastic chip or anything that you want to use. And as you say something in your group, you use a chip. And then when you say something else, you use a chip. And if you use two chips, in this particular one, you would be out of things to say. Right now, somebody else has to talk. You can do 3 talking chips, 5 talking chips. It's just a way to get everybody to participate. The third one says, I'm going to place you into groups as follows. In other words, you design the groups. You don't just let people wander into the room and sit wherever they want and talk to whoever they want. So again, these are ways that you're giving more structure and cooperation. The pros are you get more students to participate because you're assigning roles. Another pro is it adds variety to the group work by having assigned structures. And so they don't fall into the same patterns every time. The third one is that the instructor can be more precise with what they get out of the group. So rather than just who knows what you're going to get from some discussion, you can be very direct about what you expect them to do. Now, the con, if this really is a con, is that it does require more planning. You have to be very thoughtful and purposeful about it. The second one is that it does require practice for students and teachers. You might not get it right the first try, and the students might not get it right the first try until you get it just how you want it. But that's just something to learn as you go. The last of those three was the team-based grouping. And this might sound something like, at your tables, you will have the following roles for the next blank amount of time, maybe a week, maybe a month. It might say, discuss this in your group using 2 talking chips. And so